While the 2024 Euros begins its knockout stage in just a couple of days, there's another European competition on the horizon. That's right, the 2025 Women's European Championship is coming up soon, but there's still a few steps that we have to take before we complete that field. So let's go over what still is left to do. What's going on, guys? Manny G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us as always. As you can see there on the screen, the teams that are in green currently sit in the top of League A for European qualification. Now, those 8 teams in green would automatically qualify after the next round of games. But for the teams in blue, if they do stay there, they'll wind up going through a lengthy playoff process throughout the rest of this year. But we'll get to that later on. Remember, this is a 16-team field. 8 teams from League A automatically qualify for the tournament, which currently are the 8 teams in the green, but we still have 2 matches to go for every single team coming up here in July. Before we give a bit more information on the live standings with each of the groups in League A, 2 teams have already qualified. That's right, Spain and Germany have accumulated enough points to automatically advance, so they are through, along with, of course, the hosts, Switzerland, for next summer's event. Now, Switzerland going into their 3rd ever appearance. They've only ever made it to the group stage, still looking for that first ever knockout appearance, but I believe with some of the play that they've had over the last couple years, they're certainly going in the right direction. A lot, I think, will depend on kind of what group that they get put into once the draw is confirmed, but still, I think a lot of positives for Switzerland going into a home campaign with this tournament. For Germany, they are 8-time champions of this competition, runners-up in the last event against England. Definitely looking to, seize that opportunity once again, and obviously also rewrite the poor performance that they had in the World Cup last summer. For Spain, the most dominant team in women's football currently, and they hold the last 2 most recent titles, at least one for Europe and for the World Cup, obviously being world champions. They also won the Nations League in the most recent campaign. Now, taking a live look back at the standings for League A with the point totals next to each side. We'll start in A1, Netherlands at the top. They've been a bit unconvincing, but remember, this side won the tournament in 2017, went to the World Cup final in 2019. The loss of Lieke Martens to retirement has certainly not been ideal, but I still think that they're in good shape going forward. Norway and Italy battling for that 2nd place spot for automatic qualification. Norway currently with a +2 advantage in goal differential over these 2 sides. I think both sides will be looking to really take it to Finland if they can. Finland have battled well thus far. I really don't think Finland have enough, though, to surpass both of these teams. But hopefully they'll give both of these squads a battle going into those last 2 games. In A2, of course, Spain have already advanced. Denmark sit in 2nd place. Denmark have already beaten Belgium 4-2 in their first meeting between these 2 sides. And while Belgium put together some good performances in the last campaign of Nations League, it's going to be very tough because currently they're at -8 with their goal differential, and they're going to have to beat Denmark off points, probably so, with this coming up. But again, Denmark can cut that all off right away if they defeat Belgium in their next game on match day 5. Now on to A3, France at the top. They lost their chance to automatically qualify in the last game with a loss 2-1 to England. They still sit at the top of the table and do have to play Ireland coming up. But for Sweden and England, Sweden with just +1 on the advantage side on goal differential over England right now, despite being tied on points. And both of these squads will have to face each other in their final game of this campaign. And then finally off to A4, Germany have already qualified, as we've spoken about. Iceland and Austria now battling it out here. Iceland with the advantage at the moment, and both sides still have to play Germany and Poland in their final 2 games. All right, now this is where I really need you to focus with this whole playoff scenario because things start to get kind of tricky. All right, remember, there's 16 teams that make this tournament. The top 8 from League A automatically advance. That will include half the field, along with Switzerland, who, of course, are the hosts. So that's 9. So we only have 7 spots left now. We're just using the live standings right now, even though we still have 2 match days left for League A, B, and C, just to throw out this scenario and show you what's going on. So teams in 3rd and 4th right now in League A would drop down, and they would play a 2-leg playoff against 8 teams in League C. Now, League C currently has 5 groups. Those 5 winners of the groups, which are right now Albania, Romania, Montenegro, Slovenia, and Belarus, along with the 3 best second-place teams, which are currently Luxembourg, North Macedonia, and Greece. All right, all of those teams from League C would get drawn against someone from League A, as you can see there on the screen. Ireland, Czech Republic, and Poland have never made it to the Euros from League A. No one from League C has qualified in this scenario either. Now, again, remember, Ireland did make it to the World Cup last summer, which was very impressive, and obviously they're still riding that high and would love to get back. But just so you see here on the screen, these are the potential, matchups that we could see between teams in League A and League C going forward. All right, now on the other half with League B, there are 4 groups of 4 teams. Now, Switzerland is involved in this because, again, this also, like we said before, still revolves around Nations League qualifying and everything as well. So Switzerland has to play these games. It's not like since they're just the host, they get to play friendlies. They're still involved. All right, so with those 16 total teams in 4 groups of 4 for League B, the top 3 teams in each group would qualify for a playoff. Now, again, Switzerland's in that, so since they're still involved, one of the 4th place teams in League B in one of those groups has to also qualify, since you have to exclude Switzerland, even though they're still put in the standings for some reason, which, as you can see on the screen, in blue is Azerbaijan. They are the best 4th place team currently, so they would also make the playoff if it ended today. Now, how this would work is the top 6 teams, based off ranking, I would assume, and seeding and everything, would be the home team and play the second leg at home. Meanwhile, the bottom 6 teams, which are technically unseeded or the lowest ranked, will then be drawn against the top 6 to play the 2-legged playoff, if that makes sense. So, as you can see on the screen, Portugal, Scotland, Serbia, Wales, Ukraine, and Hungary at the moment are all the highest ranked teams out of this group of 12. Then the other ones, Croatia, Turkey, Bosnia, Northern Ireland, Slovakia, Azerbaijan, would be the unseeded sides. These 2 groups, again, would get drawn together. They would play a 2-leg playoff, and 6 would advance. Now, out of this entire group, only 4 of these teams have ever qualified for the Euros. That's Portugal, Scotland, Ukraine, and Northern Ireland. Now, remember, we talked about those 9 automatically qualifying, with the 8 from League A, along with Switzerland making 9. So that only leaves 7 spots left. Well, here you go. Here's a full picture of everything to make hopefully a little bit more sense. As you can see, like we talked, with League A and League C going up against each other, we would have 8 winners there out of those playoffs. On the bottom side, in League B, 12 teams, 6 matchups, 6 would advance there, which would give us 14 total. Now, all of those teams would come together based off ranking and seeding. They would put the best 7 on one side, the bottom 7 on the other, and once again, they're going to get drawn against one another for the second round of playoffs, which is also 2 legs, mind you. Now, again, these playoffs are going to happen during October and November. But as you can see, with that last group of 14, we're going to have 7 winners out of those last 2 playoff legs, which would give us the 7 to complete the entire field for next year's 2025 Euros. All right, guys. Well, I hope that wasn't too confusing. Hopefully, you at least got the gist of what this process is going to look like as we start to nail down the last couple of match days and find out which teams are going to go through the playoffs. We're going to have more coverage on this as everything unfolds, and of course, more going into next year as this tournament starts to take shape and get the groups drawn and everything like that. But guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And guys, we will see you soon. Have a good one.